Ladies and gentlemen, the time has finally come where we went 3 for 3. Yes!
Pato Ranger.
Hello everyone, it's Thomas Jujube, and welcome to the Talking Jujube podcast, a podcast where I talk about the most recent episodes and news in a series. Today, we have actually a lot of news for everything, so let's hop right into it with Transformers. So, the Transformers news isn't actually too big. There's nothing, like literally nothing for the Bumblebee movie. I think the release date got moved, but I don't know for sure, but literally there's like nothing for the Bumblebee movie. There's like no news at all for this. So that's a little disappointing. I'm kind of losing excitement for it because again, there's like nothing for it. No trailer. There's like one image that I've used just kind of offhand. So like there's literally nothing. The news I'm talking about here is for Rescue Bots Academy. Originally, it was supposed to air in early 2019, I believe. They've moved it to 2018, and they haven't said anything about Cyberverse, so I think Cyberverse is still airing 2018, but they've moved Rescue Bots Academy to go with it. And I don't know if I'm going to review Rescue Bots Academy, because it's more aimed for younger children, like preschoolers, I think. So I think I will review that first episode, but let me know down in the comment section if you actually want to see me review Rescue Bots Academy. Because again, it's kind of aimed for younger audiences, younger audiences. So I'm not sure if I should review it on the channel. That's about it for Transformers news. So let's move on. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about Build's episode for this week, which was really cool. So we start off pretty much with the scene from last week's episode where Rogue's eyes glow after he gets the rabbit counterattack information. And actually last week, if you remember, I complained kind of like the eyes glow. Well, I didn't complain, but the eyes glowed, and I said, oh, it would have been cool if we got like the scream from his transformation, because that would have been really eerie. And we get something like that. His eyes glow and he walks out, and we get the oh, so that was pretty cool. And you know, I was looking forward to that. And then like, I don't remember this. I'm sure they addressed it. I'm just probably being dumb and I don't remember. But Rogue uses Diamond. I don't remember if Sato got... I don't remember how Sato got Diamond, the Diamond full bottle, since it is a Toto bottle. So I was wondering how Sato got it. I'm probably just like not remembering something. I'm sure they got it. Again, I'm just probably not remembering something. So we get the representative battle. You know, they're battling it out. You know, that good stuff. And then again, it's a representative battle, so we get the great backstory that I always look forward to now with representative battles. So we get a flashback to when Sento and Salwa were working on the full bottle and the full bottle buster, and Salwa actually comes out and says to Sento, like, oh, I was actually lying when I told you guys that my father died, because he didn't die. And Sento says, well, yeah, I knew, because I checked it myself and there wasn't anything. You know, he's kind of like being blunt when he says this to her. And then like she explains how like she feels like, basically she says that because last week, you know, I was complaining that, oh come on, we're like retreading on this whole spy thing, because we already went through the whole thing, like, oh, she's a spy, she became a Smash, now she's not a spy, oh look, she's a spy again. It turns out her becoming a Smash was Namba's idea for the Sento in the group to actually earn, or for Salwa to earn their trust, because then they would believe, oh, okay, well, she was a spy, she's not a spy anymore, so now she's on our side. But the joke's on them, and she was still a spy. So she basically became a Smash to become a better, like, deeper undercover spy, which is pretty cool. And then we also find out that she also says to Sento, like, oh, I need to take your data, the data on your new upgrade, because they're holding Nabeshima's family. Nabeshima like appeared way earlier in the series. Like, he hasn't shown up for like forever. And I mean, they kind of assume you remember him, and I did remember him. It's just, you know, maybe other people didn't. But basically, Namba has Nabeshima's family captive, holding them captive and if Sawa doesn't comply with Namba's, rules, then Nabeshima's family, and I guess Nabeshima, will be killed. At first, I was kind of wondering, like, they stated in the show they showed that Sawa is a Namba child, so doesn't that mean she has, like, undying loyalty to Namba or something like that? So then, like, I was kind of wondering, like, why would they need this leverage for her to do this when all the other Namba children, like, just go with whatever they say, and some even, like, killed themselves, or one even killed themselves because they were, super loyal. So I don't know why. At first I was wondering, why does Sawa need this motive, or this motivation? Why does Namba need to give her this motivation when she should have undying loyalty? And it's because, well, I mean, she said it herself, that she felt like the others were like a family. And I guess, it's kind of like the whole thing, like, oh, the robot is set to infiltrate, and the robot starts to develop feelings. Sawa's not a robot, but I'm using this as an example. The robot starts to develop feelings, and now the robot wants feelings, that kind of thing. I guess it's like that, like, she's sent in to be a spy, but then she starts to, like, grow with them, and she starts to, have fun with them. So now she doesn't want to work for Namba, so now Namba has to give her this motivation to do something, which I guess is kind of interesting. And at least they provided an explanation for why she's not a spy, or why she is a spy again. I guess it's just she was always a spy. We just kind of faked you out with her being a smash and not being a spy in order for her to gain their trust. So I guess that's pretty cool. And then we get some more stuff with Rogue, how he wants to, like, save Toto, or, stuff like that. And it's actually really cool where we have Rogue walking around and during the fight, and Sento and Rogue are still fighting, but while Rogue's, like, walking around and doing all this stuff, you see, like, projections, like, on the stairs, on a wall, on the floor, of scenes from Rogue's past that we have seen in the show, but scenes from Rogue's past that are motivating him to do what he's doing, which is, like, essentially conquer Toto. Yeah, kind of conquer Toto, like, set Toto straight. So that's pretty cool. Like, I'm gonna talk about what happened later in the episode now, because you've seen the episode, you know what happens. Later in the episode, we see Sento and Rogue fighting in their suits, and then that, like, fades away, and we cut to Sento talking about, like, yes, I am fighting for, like, flimsy ideals like love and peace. They can be easily broken, but as long as I fight for them, they won't break as easily. So it's kind of interesting how Rogue is, like, surrounded by this, like, he's surrounded by his past. This past of his is surrounding him in the form of these projections. They're showing us in the form of these projections. So this past is surrounding him, and it's causing him to do what he does. But with Sento, it's not surrounding him. His resolve isn't surrounding him. It's more a part of him. Hence why we just get Sento talking out of suit, and we get Rogue in the suit surrounding him. That's just kind of me reading into it. I don't know if that's what they were going for. They were both really cool ways to demonstrate the character's resolves. So anyway, back to the episode. They're fighting, and they start to fight, or actually, I glossed over the fact that Rabbit is now losing to Rogue, because Rogue has the countermeasures, so he's able to build in Rabbit, which again is kind of, I complained about that. Like, we just established this form is really powerful, this form is really awesome looking too, and then we kind of just bring it right back down with Rogue beating it. So this fight goes on at night, and we get some great examples of Toku time where it goes until, like, the middle of the day. Like, it looked like the dead of night, and it went straight to the middle of the day. So they've been fighting for a really long time, but it's probably, like, not really. They're just doing that to show us, I guess. But I don't know. So then we saw what Grease was doing last week was trying to save Nabeshima's family, and he ends up doing that. He calls Sawa. He says, "Hey, I've saved Nabeshima's family, and you're off the hook. You don't have to work for Naba anymore, I guess, right?" And then she signals Sento, and then Sento pulls out the full bottle and starts activating Tank. And then we get another flashback of Sento's plan, basically, that he told Sawa to do, because he knew she had to tell, Namba all this. So basically, what Sento's plan was there's Rabbit, and there's Tank, which is the secret form that nobody knew about. So Sawa would only get the information for Rabbit Rabbit. So as far as they knew, Rabbit Rabbit was Sento's build upgrade. And then once Nabeshima was saved, build switches to Tank Tank, and now they can't get rid of Nabeshima's family because Sawa didn't give all the information. So, but like, this plan doesn't seem like Tank Tank is a different form, right? So they're like, give us all the information on Build's form. So she gives Rabbit Rabbit, and then Sento switches to Tank Tank, and they can't like punish her. She's like, I gave you all the information for Rabbit Rabbit. So like, there didn't seem like a need to save Nabeshima's family before Sento could switch to Tank Tank, since there's two different forms. Like, I don't know, I'm just probably being like a little complaining right now, because it was like Tank Tank. I'm just gonna talk about this right now. Tank Tank's like transformation, when he goes in armor, like the same thing, but last week we got a little Robo Bunny, and I was hoping that this week we'd get a tank. We got the main tank of the chest armor, and we just got a bunch of little tanks and for the other armor. It was just like, it was kind of cute, like big Papa Tank and all these little baby tanks rolling out, and then the other characters kind of scared, like, and they actually like beat back Rogue a little bit. And Sento goes into Tank Tank, which is a really, really cool form. Just like Rabbit Rabbit and Tank Tank are both really awesome, and I want their Sotos, but they're sold out. Anyway, again, Tank Tank was awesome. I was just kind of wondering, like, why did he have to wait for the signal when it's Rabbit Rabbit, Tank Tank, and they're two different forms? But okay, but they still have the Rabbit Rabbit countermeasure. So how can Rabbit Rabbit win any fights? I'm gonna get into that later. Basically, Rabbit Rabbit is not equal to Tank Tank, so that's why I was wondering why we have the counter. Yeah, never mind. So I love Tank Tank's finisher when Sento plugs in the full bottle into the full bottle buster. We knew about this from magazine scans, I know, but like, I was kind of excited to see it. And he turns into a tank, and he's just kind of like rolling around, and he's shooting Rogue, and Rogue's like, what? And like, all the characters were actually kind of confused by this, and he's just blowing Rogue away as a tank. And then I think he plugged it in, and I forgot whether or not the finisher was him. Like, I know he turned into a tank right as he plugged it in, but I'm not sure if the finisher was him turning into a tank. Like, if he just turned into a tank and then activated the I don't know. Never mind, I'm being weird again. So basically, this is pretty cool. The finisher was awesome. Again, he turned into a tank. Last week's finisher was awesome. This week's finisher was awesome. Two great finishers from two great forms. Rogue is defeated. Toto wins the battle, or the war, and Saito. Basically, if Saito won, they got all the bottles, but if Toto won, they didn't ask for all the bottles. So, oops. But then the Prime Minister of Toto comes and basically tells Gentoku, like, oh, you can come back, like, you don't have to be, like, kind of on your own. And he basically, like, just pushes him away, and he leaves, which personally I'm okay with for two reasons. Reason number one, Rogue has the Rabbit Rabbit countermeasures, so if Rogue disappears for a while, then we won't have the Rabbit Rabbit countermeasures, and Rabbit Rabbit is once again put on a pedestal because it's the new form. Because I was kind of, again, as I mentioned earlier, I was kind of upset Rogue has the countermeasures, taking this form down like 3 notches, like really, really fast. So I'm glad that if Rogue's gone for a little bit, Rabbit Rabbit once again is a powerful form. And the second reason I'm fine with Rogue disappearing for a little bit is that was made Toto really overpowered to have Build, Grease, Ryuga, Build, Grease, Cross, and Rogue. That's a lot of riders. Granted, Grease said he left to Hokuto, but like, he's aligned with Toto, I guess, too, right? Like, if the time comes to it, I guess they work together. So, like, still, that's like an overpowered group of 4 riders and Bloodstock. So, speaking of Bloodstock, with Saito defeated, now Namba, Utsumi, and the Prime Minister are all kind of just like sitting there like, oh, well, we lost. And Sato's like, oh, great. The Saito Prime Minister is all like, well, great, we lost. And they're like, oh, but Namba is like, oh, but you don't have to abide by the rules. If you win everything, you can rewrite the rules, right? And this Prime Minister, like, he got hit by the light, he has like messed up morals, he's kind of crazy, but like he was still going to abide by the rules here. He was going to go to the meeting. I guess they were going to discuss some things. He already relinquished Hokuto, but they were going to like discuss some things at a meeting, and Namba's like, no, don't follow them. And then he, the prime minister says no, and then Namba says, well, I guess he's not the one, and he opens the door, and Bloodstock's just like, hey, what's up, bro? Oh, you want me to kill this guy? And he flat out murders the prime minister just right then and there, which honestly was kind of like, I mean, it was such a thing, it was such a Bloodstock thing to do, but like that was just such a crazy thing to do. So then obviously not obviously, but you've seen the episode, that's what I'm saying, obviously Bloodstock uses his steam face transformation powers. There's no name for these, but he uses his special powers to change people's faces to turn Namba into the Sato Prime Minister. Thereby they have essentially control of an entire country, an entire region of a country, and now they have Sato to do, I guess, whatever they want to do. So the episode ends on 2 notes. 1, let's hope Sawa doesn't become a spy again. Oh no, I did something so that you guys wouldn't think I'm a spy again, but actually I'm a spy. Let's hope Sawa's not a spy again. And the second note is I forget what they do. I think they push a button and we cut to a warehouse of Namba Heavy Industries, and we see a bunch of robots, which I won't name if you don't want name spoilers, to a bunch of robots that basically turn on, and the episode ends. And the robots look cool and look very powerful, so that's why we leave on this end. So again, like I normally do, I'm going to talk about the preview, and I'm going to talk about magazine scans. So if you don't want magazine scan spoilers or preview spoilers, leave right now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the preview looks really interesting. I mean, interesting, because we get a quick shot of the Pandora box with something green attaching to the side, and that sign turning green. Obviously, Pandora panel green, so I guess the assembling of Pandora's box is happening. I'm not sure if we're assembling the whole thing, maybe, because that seems a little early. Like, assembling the whole thing seems like it would happen way later in the show. But basically, we see at least 1/6 of Pandora's box is going to be assembled. And apparently, there's a tagline on the preview that says Earth's destruction begins. So I guess we're already starting to, I guess 1/6 alone of Pandora's box is enough to start the destruction that the Skywall is trying to create. We still don't entirely know any of what's going on here. Bloodstock seems to be the main villain again, or becoming the main villain, because like he's been gone for a long time, and then he reappeared in this episode, and I guess he's going to become the main villain again because he's in the magazine scans as well with Pandora's box. So yeah, I guess he's becoming the main villain again. And also we get another tagline that says Misora's third form, and it shows a bunch of like images of Misora. One of them is her in her like god state, I don't know what you call that, with her green eyes, her bangles glowing, and then a female voice says, "My name is Vernage." At least that's what I assume it's pronounced in Japanese. It's Vernage, so it'd be Vernage in English, but I think it's Vernage in Japanese pronunciation. So basically, I'm 100% sure Vernage is Misora's possessed state, like I said a while ago, where I think it's like a Martian inside of her, and when she's possessed like this, it's this Martian inside of her basically possessing her, and Misora is pushed to the back, and then Misora takes over control later, and this alien consciousness is pushed to the back. So I'm very, very sure that Vernage is what they said is Misora's third form. We have Misora's like powerful state, and Vernage is her being possessed. I don't know. I hope we don't leave on a cliffhanger of that next week. I hope they explain it next week, because I'm very interested of what Vernage is. And speaking of Martians possessing people and Misora speaking, of course, last time Misora was, possessed and spoke, she spoke of Evol, which we all tied back to Kamen Rider Evol from the magazine, or the toy scans. And recently there have been some images leaked that are not leaked. Someone like took pictures of filming for the show and sent it out. So basically again, this is filming from the show for episodes we're gonna get in the future. And the first image is like a fight over Pandora's box, it seems, between Rabbit, Rogue, and Grease. They're not wearing their helmets, so it's like this suit actor and kind of like this like sock on their head, kind of, which is kind of funny. And then there's another person standing there. There's no Ryuga, by the way, which is kind of interesting. But there's another person standing there that you can't completely make out. And in another image, you see in the background, there's another helmetless Rabbit. Like, it's just a person with the chestplate on, which is pretty funny. And you see a box with Grease's armor in it, and what looks pretty much identical to Kamen Rider Evol's chestplate. If you compare it to the older magazine scans, it looks pretty much just like that chestplate. So that means, like, we're gonna start getting Evol soon. They've already shot some scenes with him. So Evol's coming, and that's really cool. I'm just kind of wondering, what's this fight over the Pandora's box about? Like, I guess the Pandora box is switching hands again if there's a fight going on for it. And speaking of, as I mentioned earlier, Ryuga's not in this fight. We get magazine scans for the month of April, and we get our first look at Cross Z Magma in its suit form. And oh my, does this suit look beautiful. If you saw my first thoughts on those toy scans, this was my favorite part of those toy scans, and I was very much looking forward to this suit. And here's the suit, and it looks so awesome. I love, like, I mean, obviously we can't see it too well because there's a lot of like stuff around it, but from what we can see, it looks like it's gonna have an awesome silhouette with those wings in the back. It looks really cool. I love the red and orange. If I have to make a complaint, it's that the undersuit is orange, and it kind of looks like way too much orange with that. I kind of wish they added some black into that undersuit, but like, honestly, that's a small complaint because I really love this suit design, and I'm looking so forward to seeing it in the show, replacing Cross Z Charge, because I'm not too big of a fan of that suit. And I've seen first of all, it's kind of weird he's going back to the build driver from the Splash driver. And I saw one thing where basically his Magma packet, his Dragon Jelly packet, like, gets melted somehow. So Sento uses this melted, I guess, jelly, this melted nebula gas jelly, whatever you want to call it. Uses this melted packet and combines it with the Pandora's panel's essence, like he did with Rabbit Tank Sparkling. And in doing that, he creates this extra powerful full bottle and creates the Magma knuckle to put the full bottle into, so you can insert it in the build driver, and then, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of interested to see if that's what happens and kind of how this whole thing plays out. But like, honestly, this episode of Build was great. I'm looking forward to next week. I'm really looking forward to seeing Evol coming soon, because he is coming soon now, I guess, since they already had the suit made. And of course, I'm looking so forward to Cross Z Magma next month. So just Build all around was great this week. So now we move on to Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger, and once again, this was a really great week for Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger. Of course, the main focus of this episode, the main focus, I guess, was Sakuya, the pattern Nigo, trying to get Lupin Yellow, Umika, to fall for him. He's basically like asking her on a date. He gives her his contact information. They make a lot of jokes with this. He's just kind of adorable when he's like flirting with her. And at the end, we see he's like, I think I'm in love, or true love, I think is what he said. So it's kind of funny. And then this monster so the monster of the week is basically attacking restaurants and eating the people for some reason. I think it's because, I don't know, they deal with human trafficking, the ganglers. I don't know, they didn't really explain why this monster is eating people, but this monster was kind of cool. It was also cool that this monster, like, was different from the others. Basically, the other monsters were always a person, like a monster disguised as a person, and they're hiding out in plain sight until the Lupin Rangers blow their cover. This monster was just, he didn't have a human disguise. I think he might have had a human disguise. I don't remember. but I don't think he did. He was just flat out like showing up at the restaurants as a monster and eating people. So that's a nice change from the other monsters, and I'm glad we're kind of switching it up. So then, you know, the Lupin Rangers, they come in to stop him, and basically the monster eats Lupin Blue and is about to eat Lupin Yellow, and Kairi stops the monster from eating Umika so that he gets eaten in the monster and Umika is left outside. And she kind of like breaks down, and then the monster leaves. He's like, well, I guess I'll just get that one later, unless if she gets in my way. And then Umika's just kind of like left there like, what do I do? She's super scared, and we get this really awesome like flashback where she was when she was younger and she was being bullied by the other kids, and this one person stood up for her, and I mean you could assume they became really good friends. And then Umika sees how good of an artist her friend is, and she wants to basically put her in a drawing contest. And then she does, and they're walking in the mall. I think, yeah, it's a mall. And she's like, wow, these are really good. Wow, you're gonna win. And then she turns around, and Zamigo, the ice monster, is about to freeze her. But then her friend pushes her out of the way and gets frozen, exactly like what just happened, where Kairi pushes Umika out of the way and he gets eaten by the monster. So that was a really awesome parallel, and I'm really glad they did that. And you just kind of like, Umika's like, I'm always being left, like I'm always being saved. Why can't I save myself? I'm always being saved. So now she's the sole Lupin Ranger to take down this monster, and she's like, I'm always being saved, so people think I'm the weaker of the Lupin Rangers. So what do I do? And it's just really cool to see her on her own, having to like trying to figure out what to do. And she does the thing that I'm always glad when the Lupin Rangers do this, which is manipulate the Pato Rangers. They, they manipulate them. They take advantage of them. So she calls up Sakuya and decides to go on a date with him. But she does some detective skills and figures out where the next restaurant the monster will hit, and tells Sakuya to go on a date with her at that restaurant so that the Pato Rangers can like fight off the monster, technically giving her some backup so she's not the only person fighting this monster. So that was really cool. I'm really glad to see she was, being smart and deciding to use tactics instead of just flat out attacking the monster or just breaking down and crying. And so she thought about like, oh, I'm always being saved, so I need to do this myself and call up the Pato Rangers. So that was really cool. And then of course they go on a date, which is kind of a funny scene where Sakuya is just like staring at her. It's like, oh, you look so nice. And then the monster shows up like Umika thought. The Pato Rangers come, they're attacking the monster, and they're like about to destroy the monster with its Lupin collection piece inside of it. And then Umika just runs out in her Lupin uniform. I think she does like a Black Widow move from the Avengers, where she like wraps her legs around him and throws him to the ground. She uses her dial fighter, opens up the safe, pulls out the Lupin collection piece, and then the monster spits out all the other Rangers, because basically the Lupin collection piece was making his stomach larger, meaning he could eat all these large items such as people. But without this collection piece, his stomach shrank back to normal size, so he had to throw up all these people. And that reminds me, I glossed over the fact that Umika got this idea from Kogure, the butler, who pretty much hasn't been doing much at all, except showing up, saying, here you go there, and then showing up, thank you for the Lupin collection piece. Like, that's all he's been doing. But this time he actually acted like a mentor. Like, he showed up, then he says, like, he's a ninja. He showed up out of nowhere again. He shows up, he basically gives Umika the advice to take the collection piece, and then her friends will come out. I don't remember if he said more, but that's pretty much what he said. And then, so basically he acted like a mentor, which is cool because there's not really a Lupin Ranger mentor. He's technically supposed to fill in that mentor role, but he doesn't really. So it's cool to see at least he's kind of taking on that role. And then he leaves through the door, which is something he doesn't normally do. But he leaves through the door, and then he says, what does he say? He says, those VS vehicles, are very valuable. So that's just kind of, that doesn't really show a lot, because the Lupin collection pieces are also valuable. But maybe the fact he addressed them not as a part of the Lupin collection, but as VS vehicles, is that maybe they're not part of the Lupin collection, and they obviously are gonna be much more important, I guess, later on. If he has some greater goal for these, the gimmicks of the show, he has a greater goal for these. If he doesn't want them to be kept by the monster or destroyed by the monster, so that's pretty interesting. So again, let's fast forward back to where they defeat the monster, or no, the Lupin Rangers get out, and then what Kairi does is he kind of like, I can't really describe what he did. He like kind of like held Umika's nose like she was his little sister or something. I can't really describe what he did, like, I don't know, but basically he does this kind of like brotherly act to Umika, and that's going to be important later on. Basically, the episode ends like a normal Sentai show. They use the Kaito boost with the Cyclone Dial Fighter, which I have to say was really awesome. Like, it was just explode. There's a lot of explosions in the show with their finishers, and all their finishers are really cool. I really like this finisher. It was quite destructive. And then one of my favorite parts of the episode has to be when Good Striker Goody shows up, and then, you know, he does his coming out of nowhere, and he's in Lupin mode. He's ready to do the Lupin Ranger combination for the Lupin Kaiser, and then they're all like, we're done for today, go bother them, points to the Pato Rangers, they walk away, and he's like, what? And then Lupin Blue, I think he says something like, oh, getting eaten is tiring, and then he's like, he just pushes him towards the Pato Rangers, and they all walk away, and he turns around, and the Pato Rangers are like, Good Striker, glad you're here, come on, let's get to it. And he's like, oh, I feel wanted. It's so cute. Good Striker's just a joy to watch. He's a great comic relief character. I don't know necessarily what to call him, but it's kind of cool to see this Zord that's alive, switches between teams, but he doesn't really have an alliance. It's just whatever team he chooses. So it's just kind of fun to have a character like that. He's not I guess he's a character. I don't know how to describe him, but he's really funny. And then we get the Megazord fight. I really like basically the Megazord fights are just kind of getting stale. We get the debut of the Machine Biker in Megazord mode, and I mean, it's cool. It's not the greatest fight ever, but I did realize is that I really like the transformation of these. Basically, like, we have the Megazord, and then the arm comes off, and you see like the pink schematic of where the pink Zord would go, and it like kind of like phases out into the schematic for the biker, and then the biker attaches. Like, the CG like transformations I think are really cool. I think we should do those more often if it's done really well like this, because it looks pretty realistic, and it's just a really cool scene whenever like the biker machine attaches, and it does like strikes a pose, and then we switch back to the suit, which kind of doesn't like translate that well. I'm being weird again, but I really liked the biker when it attaches and when they're doing their final attack. So they defeat the monster, and then we see the Pato Rangers go back to the cafe. We get more Sakuya and Umika flirting, I guess. Umika's not really flirting too, so one-way flirting, I guess. And then Tsukasa looks behind her and sees Kairi do the same move to Umika that she saw Lupin Red do to Lupin Yellow, causing her to realize that probably the Lupin Rangers are the cafe, the staff of the cafe. So that's where we end the episode on. I'm going to talk about the preview. If you don't want preview spoilers, leave right now. So anyway, the preview next week shows that we're starting to get into the identity reveals, because Tsukasa sees this, and I guess she's going to tell the other Pato Rangers. They're going to be kind of skeptical. I'm sure Sakuya will be very skeptical, like, Umika's a thief? What? So, like, basically, I'm kind of, like, mixed on this, because I do want them to know each other's identity eventually, but when they're on the same side, since I assume both teams are going to be aligned with each other eventually, but I'm not sure if I want it this early, because we're only like 8 episodes. That's going to be our 8th episode, and I don't want them to reveal the Lupin Rangers' identity this soon, because I kind of like where they know who the Pato Rangers are, so they can use the Pato Rangers for information, but the Pato Rangers don't know who the Lupin Rangers are, so they're just kind of mysterious Rangers who just show up and beat the monster. So I'm kind of hoping we don't get the identity reveals this soon, because it looks like the Pato Rangers are gonna set a trap and use Jim Carter, the robot that has a human name. Okay, they're gonna use Jim as, they're gonna disguise him as a gangler, because there's one scene where you see him with a safe on his head, which is funny. So, but he doesn't look like a gangler at all, so I hope they don't fall for it. They probably won't fall for it. So basically, it looks like we're gonna start kind of discovering who the Lupin Rangers are, but I really hope we get like a bait and switch, because I don't want the Pato Rangers to know who the Lupin Rangers are this early, because I really like the dynamic we have going on. And then we also get the April magazine scans for Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger, akin to how Bill got scans. Build scans were much cooler. The Lupin Ranger scans are cool too, but there's not much. We just see that, I don't know the name of this. It's basically the Bomber Zord for the Lupin Rangers. In Megazord mode, it gives a shield and sword. And what's cool is that Lupin Red can use it in his, civilian, not his civilian form, in his Ranger form outside the Megazord. He can use it as a shield and giant boomerang. So it's cool to see these dial fighters and trigger machines are doing different things. Some can be used as a final attack, and in the Megazord, this one's being able to use as a weapon outside the Megazord. So that's pretty cool. The Pato Rangers aren't getting anything, so I think I can assume that the Pato Rangers will get equipment, a new Zord next month. But I kind of wish they got it this month, because I want to see I was thinking next month, I was kind of hoping next month would be the debut of the 6th Ranger, or I guess it's not a 6th Ranger, but the extra Ranger for both teams. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be the debut of the new Zord for the Pato Rangers, and we'll get the new Ranger in June. But I don't know. This Zord is cool. The rest of the magazine is just new shots of the Lupin Rangers and Pato Rangers going at it. So maybe they don't reveal the identity, or maybe the fight gets more intense because now they know who each other are. Now they know each other's identities. So, this episode of Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger was really, really good. And I'm kind of scared for next week, because I don't want them to mess it up and reveal the Lupin Rangers' identities, unless they do it right. They could, of course, do it right. I thought this episode was going to be a completely silly episode, and it was really awesome. So I could be scared that we're going to mess up next week, but they could do it really well, because this Sentai has been doing really well. So anyway, great episode. Kind of looking forward to next week, and the scans are just okay, but I'm looking forward to what's to come. And we actually have something for Power Rangers to talk about this time, and it is related to Shattered Grid. Now, there's not much to talk about here. Basically, I'll leave the link in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason yet. You need to see this, because it's a trailer prelude to the Power Rangers Shattered Grid comic crossover event. And I'm looking so much more forward to that than I already was. I was already looking forward to that. And now I'm even more excited for it, because this was an awesome prelude, because we see Lord Drakon as like an actual suit, and he's being played by Jason David Frank, the Tommy actor that we've been with for a long time now. And there's also a suit for the Yellow Ranger SWAT mode. I don't really know. That sounds like SPD. the alternate universe Yellow Ranger Soldier. I don't really know what the name of this character is, but we do see Lord Drakon, and it's really cool. He's sitting in his chair. He has this long hair. He looks exactly like he would in the comics if he was in real life. And he's looking basically at scenes of pretty much every, I think it was every Power Ranger series ever, because there's stuff from Dino Supercharge. They had a heavy emphasis on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and in space they had one scene with RPM. They even had something from Megaforce. So I think there was SPD in that. Yeah, there was SPD. That was just, it was really cool, short little scene. It didn't last too long, but basically he's looking at this and he says so many Rangers, so much potential. And then his helmet appears really awesome. He gets up, he goes to his army, and he says, oh, they had, or I don't remember exactly what he says. He says oh, they had so much potential. They could have been gods. And then he summons his army, and they basically rise up, and next is going to be the invasion of every Power Rangers universe, I guess, in the Shattered Grid. So just an awesome prelude to Shattered Grid. So looking forward to this. This is gonna be awesome. This is like Avengers Infinity War for Power Rangers, and Power Rangers has a lot more characters than Avengers does right now. I'm looking forward for Avengers, but this Power Rangers crossover is gonna be awesome. It's probably gonna be one of the greatest things the franchise has done, the greatest thing it's done in recent years anyway. So just looking so forward to that. If you're not reading Boom Studios comics, try to read them any way you can. Do whatever you can to read them, because you should really be reading these to support this series, because this is probably what the best thing Power Rangers is doing right now. And while Ninja Steel is on break, just, I don't know, take a read through them. If you want that Power Rangers kick, read through the Boom Studios comics, read them, because Shattered Grid is going to be awesome. So Power Rangers finally released a great piece of media this week. So overall, this was just a great week. We got some cool news for Transformers, awesome news for Power Rangers, great episodes of Build and Lupin Ranger, and great news from Build and Lupin Ranger and Powder Ranger. Don't forget Powder Ranger. Basically, this was just a lot of news basically for this week of talking Jujube, and just I'm looking forward to what's to come. So if you enjoyed this episode, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.